tend to refer to them more as the Harajukus is because of Gwen Stefani, right? She's the one who kind of, that's actually, is that what she calls her clothing line now? I think so. So Gwen Stefani, no doubt, really kind of started to take on a little bit of this style and bring it in, especially she was kind of moving away from her sort of being part of the band, no doubt, and trying to find her own individual look, and then that became kind of what she was known for, and I think she mentioned it in one or two of her songs, Harajuku, and that then became her clothing line, and that's why I think a lot of people in this country tend to refer to it as the Harajuku girl style, but obviously that's just the location in Japan where they kind of congregate. So what I wanted to talk about to kind of bring some of this together, because we watched this, last week we looked at, just as a refresher, the obviously the manga cafes where we'll all be staying when we go to Tokyo. We figured that one out. We looked at Akihabara, which is where all the sort of anime comes together. We looked at the maid cafes. But I wanted to kind of get you guys thinking, do we have anything similar to this in the U.S.? Are there places, are there movements, are there, obviously we have Claire's, at least for now. Like I said, they are going out of business here, but apparently they have a much bigger life outside of that in Japan. But do we have anything that you've seen either historically or, I kind of started off. Have anyone heard of Kate Ashbury? In San Francisco? Yeah, this is history. Okay, so how about hippies? Anyone heard of hippies? Yeah, okay. So there's a spot in San Francisco called Kate Ashbury. And it's an area where Grateful Dead, a lot of those sort of countercultural, free love kind of groups and individuals kind of came together in the 1960s, and that kind of enforced and brought together the hippie counterculture that we know. And so a lot of people would go there because they felt like they could express those sentiments before it got to be a bigger movement, obviously, and especially as a protest against the Vietnam War. So that's one kind of example. And it's still, people will still go there. You can still go and, there's stores that are all about that counterculture and all of that. Yeah.
I guess one of the first stories that come to mind is Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm.
Expenses.
Yeah.
Because they have all these items that sort of kind of represent that stage and adolescence that a good number of us go through, the emo and scene phase.
Right, yeah. People know if you want to go to get those kind of pop culture-y items, right? You go to Hot Topics, you go to Spencer's. If you want to spend more money, you can go to Box Lunch, but at least that's the more expensive version of Hot Topic. But they also give away free lunches. I know, see, you're learning so much. Yeah, yeah, it's a more expensive. It's a more upscale version of Hot Topic. But they give away for every month. For the reason it's called Box Lunch is they give away lunches. So for every amount of money, for every dollar you spend, it means you bought half a lunch or something for the homeless. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some of their group aspects reminds me of the Coachella culture.
Yep.
Where everyone before it was a small, it was just for music. Now everyone wants to outdress everyone and wear things that normally wouldn't be a thing in society.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a great example of it. And we have other festivals like that too, right?
What's the one where they're in the desert and they're
Burning Man. Right, yeah.
They don't wear clothes at that point. That's what they're not wearing clothing to come around. They're just wearing clothing to
that guy.
Oh my gosh.
Kanye. I brought Kanye up. So we talked about this last week, right? He was at Coachella. He was charging $50 for a t-shirt or some ridiculous thing like that. Was it a couple hundred?
I saw $50 for a pair of socks.
Maybe that was it. I just remember $50 for something that seemed really ridiculous. Yeah. Although, even better, I heard this morning that someone had collected tufts of grass from where he supposedly performed and was selling it on eBay, and someone actually bought it for $100. So,
What is wrong with you?
obviously.
I mean, people sell celebrities sweat and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
why would you buy it? It could literally
Someone
be
will buy
there.
it as long as
Hey, they
you
could
have
just pick
a
up the
thing.
grass from their house. How do you
Yeah.
think that's the validity of
I know
this thing?
there's no DNA test, right? And Kanye stood on his grass.
But also, why would you want it? It's grass.
Yeah,
Like
where
it's
you
gonna
gonna
die.
Exactly.
You're gonna have like.
It's like
You just have a bag full of browning grass, right? But this is sort of a similar idea, right? Fanatics, right? Fans, they take it to that extreme level. So whether it's taking 2 hours to do your makeup and your whatever to go meet up with friends, or spending $100 to buy grass that Kanye may or may not have stood on, those fanatics will do that.
Speaking of Coachella, it made me think about all the Instagram influencers
Mm-hmm.
who are like all over the place trying to like get people to like let them stay places for free and stuff, and then they just like do all the craziness, trying to get the craziest selfie, and then like everybody dies.
Yeah, we have had a lot of that lately, haven't we? Of the standing in quite just the wrong spot, but yeah, I mean, I think in this country we have a lot more of that, where it's like the influencers on social media rather than in like a single location. Because I was trying to think, can anyone think of it other than like, so we had the festival, we had the Fire Festival, the Burning Man Festival, Coachella, we've had Woodstock, right? But that's becoming commercialized. We like to commercialize everything eventually. But any place else that you can think of? Yeah.
Going off of what she said, like with the Coachella and like the outfits and how like kind of outrageous it can be, I was thinking like the Met Gala. With, like,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
that's
even
good.
more like private.
But
because
yeah.
it's like specific.
But
to
some of
this
them could be a
celebrity.
little. I mean, I don't know how much it costs, but they look good.
They
cost
create
a
the
lot.
data.
Yeah, I mean, because that's basically when they announce it like a year in advance, so you have all the time for the designers to make the
Next year.
the theme. I don't. Let's see, because last year the one where it was religion.
She's right. Look at Ariana Grande right there.
Oh yeah, someone threw a lemon at her at Coachella.
Yeah.
Like a whole lemon.
Why?
It was
Yeah.
because Beyonce is getting paid less than she is getting
Oh.
paid, so they're like, lemonade, here.
Yeah, okay, so 2019, so here's how we get to be, I think this is sort of our version, right? But on steroids, because I forget how much Rihanna's entire getup cost. I think I remember reading, she actually did like take the, that's actually a real like bishop's hat that she like took from a real bishop. What is it? And you can do that, right?
Like, what are you doing?
Well, because if you're gonna do the theme, you're gonna do
gotta
the
go
theme,
all
Is
right?
that 2019? Oh, we haven't 2020.
Do we know yet?
Or is it 2019?
Oh, is it 2019? I got the year wrong. Hold on. Okay, camp. Notes on fashion. So that could go a lot of different directions.
That's just gonna be.
Like, are we talking about Tennessee?
Summer camp, band camp.
I was just gonna say, yeah. Or just camp, right? To just like, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Is
see
there like
who-
something that all these like fancy people know that we don't know? Like, does camp mean something to them?
It could, but like you're saying, it could just be the traditional like camp, right? As you said, band camp, summer camp, camping. It could be that camp-y, which is more that kind of
it's
funny.
all of the unnatural and
Okay, so it has more information. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, it's from the drawings of Susan Sontag essay. Okay. I love the unnatural.
Okay.
So it's going campy.
Somebody's gonna wear a tag.
Oh yeah, you know someone's not going to read that entire thing and just go with getting out the Boy Scout uniform.
Wow, that could go so many places.
Yeah,
with the
that
level of
would-
your natural.
Yeah,
I'm ready. I was ready.
it's always exciting to see what they come up with, you know, and how hard it is for many of them to walk. Because wasn't it Beyonce one year? Literally, Jay-Z almost had to carry her up the stairs
Yeah,
because her
they
dress
did
was
the-
so
yeah.
sewn into it, and yeah. So I guess our celebrities, I mean, yeah, they kind of take it to that extreme of some of the things that we've been talking about. What else? Are there any other similarities that we can think of? Let's talk about maid cafes. Do we have anything similar to a maid cafe?
Like cat cafes or like.
I mean, they're
That's also from here.
Well, yeah, they come over, yeah.
There's even a raccoon cafe.
Oh, you mean the actual cat? Oh, yeah, where you actually can go and sit with cats, and
Yeah.
yeah, we have one near my house where they've adopted like 70 cats at this point.
Because they also
Adopted out, yeah.
Oh, the Chuck E. Cheese.
Chuck E. Cheese, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love Chuck E. Cheese! My favorite!
And at one point we had more than just Chuck E. Cheese. We used to have Major Magics. We had other chains. You've never been to Chuck E. Cheese?
I've never been to
22
Cheese either.
years.
Really? What's wrong?
Never.
There was this time where I almost went.
I love that you almost went.
Like, I didn't realize you're too old for it, so you can't go now. So then I'm just gonna like live my entire
you
life.
never
You just gotta get the
She
age
just-
where you can have kids.
Yeah, and then I'll have to bring
Or a
my
niece or nephew or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah. Or you just grab one of the kids as you're walking in, right?
Yeah.
Take it with you. We do adopting. I've often thought we need like adopt a child for like some go to movies or Chuck E. Cheese, right? But now, how many people haven't been to Chuck E. Cheese? Just the two of you? Everyone else has been?
Oh, wow.
See, do you want to go to Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah,
I think we need to organize like a class field trip to Chuck E. Cheese because that is such a huge part of our culture, especially for kids. I mean, birthday parties at Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. I
I've
don't
been
know.
here 10 years ago and I still
That whole arcade culture for us does. I think that really is a good example of it because you get those little trinkets because you earn your okay, for those who haven't been, games with tokens that cost way more than any of the items that you will actually get. And then you have to earn tickets, and then you go and you turn them in. And I always feel bad for the people working behind the counter at Chuck E. Cheese who have to sit there while the kids try to decide what they want and figure out how many tokens add up to that. Yeah, oh, I feel very bad for them. Yeah, as a parent, it's like one of the worst things. Is you just say, like, I want to leave. I've been in this like sensory overload for 2 hours, and now you're spending another hour trying to figure out whether you want the piece of gum for 25 tokens or something else. All right, so Chuck E. Cheese is a good one. Yeah.
So I was just thinking like of commercialized things in America and like a holiday count.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like, because Cinco de Mayo is coming up and St. Patty's Day just passed. So I feel like those two are just like a really big reason to drink.
Yeah.
It's not even like you're looking at the history of anything. It's just you get to drink and that's
Right.
that, you know? So.
Well, especially Cinco de Mayo because
And that actually has a significance of history behind it.
it does, yeah. Although not as much as we like to make it seem to be, but yes, there is a little bit behind it. But yeah, I think in this culture we do tend to like to turn our holidays into excuses to party. We're very good at that.
I was thinking like rap culture, pretty much. Like,
Absolutely.
There's a whole entire like specific fashion and like attitude and everything accompanied with being part of.
The rap culture, yeah. Yep. And if you don't fit into that, and that's not just the look or anything, it's also the lived experiences that people have. You're just sort of ostracized from that, right? You don't fit. We talked about that with the K-pop, right? They were trying to adopt some of that, and whether or not that was cultural appropriation.
That one dude got caught with meth. I heard about that. The
Wait,
one
what is this?
K-pop star, and you were saying that they like to put like their best
Yeah, people
feet
forward. Yeah.
Yep. Got caught with a lot of meth.
Who got caught?
Yeah, that's not
One
good.
of them.
Yeah.
It's never good when you get caught.
I'm always amazed when they try to break through airports. Right? I'm like, do you not think that someone's gonna? I mean, I was at the airport the other day and they had the dogs sniffing everyone as they were walking through the lines, and so it's really hard not to want to play with the dog. That's like my hardest thing, but yeah. All right, let's talk about it. Since you brought up rap and we've talked about, let's talk about countercultures, right? And that's really what a lot of this is, because as we were just watching that documentary, and we've talked about before, Japan is a very strict culture, right? I think they said at one point, you wear a uniform to school, you wear a uniform to work, you have these very prescribed kind of ways of living, of doing things. We've talked about that with the tradition, that it's really a culture that tries to bring tradition into the modern age. And so I think these things that we've seen, whether it's the anime, whether it's the Sakura girls, it's just a way for them to express something that's different. You know, like what the mom in this last little documentary said, it's not my style. And it's kind of like, well, it's okay, you know, as long as she's having fun with it, but definitely not something that, you know, you're going to see an older generation want to support. I think rap started with a little bit more, obviously, a political, social movement behind it. I don't really see that in these cultures. It's more just a way of saying we want to be different. This is our way of being individualistic. What are some of the other countercultures that you see? Yeah.
In Japan, there's multiple sub-countercultures.
Yeah.
There's this counterculture that wears like only black and white, like that's their only dressing style. They'll shape their head to be black or color their hair to be black or white. They wear like very long, like it's a fashion specifically, but it's also like a big counterculture.
Right. Well, and fashion is often the way that the countercultures express themselves, and we've seen that. Yeah.
Tattoos. That's
Yep.
the big no-no there. I feel like that was taking another step. Like tattoos were kind of like, oh, don't do that, and then we got more acceptable to that, and it's like, okay, well, like now I'm gonna like pierce myself, and they're like, okay, we're okay with that now, and then they've taken it to the point where like, have you seen the people who like put cloaks through their skin to like hang?
Or scarification.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
too.
No, that's too much. That's a whole lot of left.
Yeah, and we have become far more accepting as a culture. It used to be that if anyone could see your tattoo or your piercing other than your ears, then you weren't going to get a job. You were kind of considered to fit into this category of being, perhaps, well, if you were a guy, you had that biker culture, right, that came up from the 1960s. Clearly, you fit into that if you had a single tattoo. But yeah, we have. It's amazing when you think back, to that era. Like, oh my gosh, he has a tattoo. He must be like a gangster. Yeah. And now we look at it as sort of the cultural phenomenon and the beauty of it, and which is really more, the tradition of it going back to, you look at the Maori, where you literally got tattooed with a stick, a needle on a stick. I don't know what the right term is for it, but that was a sign of passage, a rite of passage for men in that culture. And then it was kind of progressed to where we have it now. Other countercultures. We talked about rap. We talked about hip hop. Those are hipster culture. Yes. Yeah, we talked about that, where you all look the same, right? The court case where the guy lost because he thought. Did we talk about that in this class?
Oh, where he said that they used a picture of him in an article that said all hipsters look alike, and it wasn't even him.
Yeah, so there was this court, he filed a court case saying, because there was an article about hipsters all looking the same, and the guys, they said, that's my picture, and you used it inappropriately, and you're slandering me, because we don't all look the same, and they went to trial, and they found out it wasn't even a picture of him.
How embarrassing.
I'm not sure how eventually, I have to go back and try to read, so I'm not sure eventually how they figured it out, but
please sue me, see what happened.
yeah, it literally was like, he just looked so much like it just proved the point that you all look so similar that you can't even recognize yourself in a picture.
Wow.
That's so sad. Guess he doesn't look in the mirror.
Right, yeah. And then it's like, is that a subculture or is that a cult at that point? I'm not sure when you all look that much alike. Because so much subculture is about individualism, right? A collective individualism, which I know is sort of an oxymoron, but that's sort of, it's that idea that this light group of individuals is getting together and trying to stand out, and so they do adopt certain looks and traits. So one of the biggest ones, was the punk subculture in Britain, where it was the mohawks and multiple piercings and leather jackets and all of that. Yeah, Erica.
I don't know if this is popular in Japan, but I know where I'm from, the Guido look. But then if I'm thinking about Japan, I'm thinking gamers, ravers. So that's a
right. Yeah. So, oh yeah, go Yeah.
Print, cheetah print, rocket.
Think about was it the Jersey Shore?
Yeah. Yeah, that's weaving culture.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
What about
Sorry.
that whole Peppa Pig thing?
Oh, Peppa Pig, yes.
Yeah.
Which moves from kids having, because kids do have their own subcultures, right? Kids will, and this is part of their friendship. It's how they try to figure out who they want to be friends with. It's what we call lingua franca.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're savage.
It literally is. When I was in grad school, I was part of a research team, and we went to a school and we were doing observations, and it was about how the kids develop their own language before they even have linguistic skills to be able to differentiate and determine who has friends. And back then it was when Power Rangers were first really big. And so you would look on the playground and literally you would see like the red Power Ranger group and the green Power Ranger group.
Wow.
Whatever the other colors were, because I've kind of forgotten now at this point in time. But that would be literally how they would figure out who they wanted to play with. Is, oh, you have a red Power Ranger. I have a red Power Ranger. We must have similar characteristics or personalities or, in common, and so we're going to play with each other.
When I was doing my project for the midterm, I came across, I think it's called otaku culture.
Yeah.
And that's like a really big thing.
Yeah.
That may be a goal as well.
It could be, yeah. But there's a fine line, honestly. There's a very fine line. But I mean, a lot of the times, I don't see it so much in Japan, but normally subcultures have, or countercultures, have a political, movement behind them that they're trying to express. I think what you're seeing, like I said, what we see in Japan more is that we just want to be less conforming. That's their basic message, is that we want to be able to express our individuality, which is very difficult in a collectivist culture like Japan is, because you're not supposed to stand out. You're supposed to be part of the group mindset. Whereas in this country, we're very individualistic. While yes, we do try to do some things that maybe make us look similar or be similar, we're very much into our own kind of idea. Yet we still want to be part of a group. So that's kind of our dichotomy that we have here. But yeah, Erica.
I feel like Japan kind of propels Korea, South Korea in a way. I feel like they kind of feed off of each other.
Mhm.
So I think they influence them a lot. Like vice versa, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was the idea that, that anime, was it your article that Korea is now doing, China, sorry, okay, that China is doing now almost as much anime as Japan. Yeah, it's all going to be influential, and if something becomes successful, that is also going to have an impact, because here's the other part of a culture, is that we try to then take that counterculture, especially if it has a message that we think is going to negatively influence the dominant, and we try to co-opt that, right? So we try to see, how do we turn that so that they can still have parts of it, but we take away the parts that are actually giving it a message. So if you have the cosplay culture, right, where people are dressing up, let's turn it into something that's consumeristic, like a maid cafe, right? So we're taking it, we're making money off of it, and as soon as you start making money off of something, you automatically start taking the power away from the message, because you start letting people who aren't part of that small group share some of those characteristics, whether it's a look, whether it's an attitude. We definitely saw that with rap and hip hop, as that was really becoming a very strong culture. The music industry started bringing it in more into the mainstream, right? We started seeing that look in stores. We started seeing, because I remember this, I grew up just outside of Detroit in a very, very white suburb of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And as soon as you started seeing those kids that I went to school with who had absolutely no connection to anything in rap and hip hop dressing like that, I was like, okay, there goes that movement, right? Because it no longer means anything. And that's the way society kind of makes them kind of quiet down. And yeah, you can still keep part of it. You're welcome to have a little piece of what makes you you, but we're going to take away the power of that. We're going to take away that political social justice kind of piece of it. And that's very, very common in these subcultures, to kind of make them go away. And so it'll be interesting to see if Japan continues to try to do that, if they really start seeing these groups as becoming a threat to that collectivist culture. And I think they are starting to see that in ways maybe not expected, one of which is declining birth rate, right? These young kids who are participating in these countercultures, the one thing they're not doing is hooking up. So I hate to say it, but a society has to have population, and if you don't have a population, society is going to go away. And unfortunately, a lot of countries in Asia are experiencing a significant decrease in their birth rates, and that is hugely problematic for so many reasons. Not the least of which, especially in China and in Japan, you have a very high rate of individuals who are now into that retirement age, right? And they're going to have to be taken care of, and that is a huge drain financially on the government. And if you don't have work, and also a lot of these, one thing I didn't show you is there's an entire culture of people that fit into some of these sort of gaming, anime cultures that don't leave their rooms. All right, they're still living at home. They're in their late 20s into their 30s, and they haven't left the house in years. And so there's now an entire group of psychologists and social workers who have formed to try to work with these individuals to get them back into mainstream society and try to get them to be productive financially, socially. Just think about that. I mean, you have enough of a population, and they don't even know definitively how much of a segment of the population fits into this category because parents don't want to talk about it, right? There's that stigma of having a child that just is in their room all day, and you're still bringing them their food and doing their laundry. But yeah, it is enough that there's now an entire group of professionals who are trying to work with these individuals.
Yeah, it's even in the anime and manga that these people are consuming, they make a note to mention some of the anime and manga will bring up a character who always stays in their room, who never leaves their room, and then suddenly they have this wonderful experience of going outside or being with other people and all this other stuff. So it's also kind of subtly trying to let you know, please go outside.
Go outside, right? Because it's also detrimental to the anime and the manga community in general if you get this social stigma that sort of like what Fortnite's going through now, right? There are parents, and again, there are now treatment centers, I'm not kidding, for kids that are addicted to Fortnite. And the parents are having to send them away to basically detox off of Fortnite.
Is this a new were we this bad when we were younger? Yeah. Technology wasn't as big as technology's problem that's going on. Are we more addictive behaviors happening?
I think there's always addictive behavior. And so the question is, and if you have an addictive personality, you're going to find different ways to satisfy that addiction. Obviously, that takes a lot of different forms. When I was young and there was no technology, the way we played, right, is we had to go outside, or we had a board game, so our playing was often limited to when the sun was out. So it was kind of hard to keep going, because it's dark and your parents have drug you inside, right?
I was going to say, if the lights aren't out,
right.
You can't go out.
Right, yeah, you can't continue that game you were playing, when you were outside. I mean, maybe you'll go in and do a board game, but, it's not as easy to get addicted, I think, to board games. I've never personally gotten addicted to it, but I don't know, maybe there is. I'm not going to say never, right? But so when you have the video game, you can play that all the time. And that was the one thing I thought about when Nintendo introduced the Switch, which is that device where you can just take it and play it anywhere. I'm like, are we making this easier for people who are addicted to just keep taking it with them wherever they go?
As long as they give us their money, it's okay.
Well, and that is the capitalist idea, right? Is that we want you to continue to play Fortnite or whatever the game is, because the more you play, and I've never played Fortnite, I don't intend to start because I don't like those kinds of games, I'll be honest with you. But I know you spend money to purchase things in the game. And so, right, the more that you're playing means the more chance that you have to be able to get you to spend the money. Now, as a parent, if I was a child, that would not be happening. But I don't know. You know, a lot of parents, as we've had two-income families, they sort of deal with their guilt of not being home by allowing kids to have more access to the family income and influence over the family income. Yeah.
I also think it's influenced by like how early kids start like using cell phones and like computers and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know like in my like family friend group, there's a bunch of kids and they're like, Mom, can I have your cell phone? And like they just would sit there,
Right.
a group of them, and they watch like kid videos on YouTube, which are also weird. But
Yeah. There's some weird stuff out there. You did, yeah. No, we do, and we in the American Academy of Pediatric. I'm not saying that right. Basically, the group of pediatricians in this country have recently come out with new guidelines, and that really you should not give a child under. I think they're saying under the age of 4. It might even be a little older. I'll have to look it up. I'll let you guys know on Wednesday the exact age. Should not have control over a phone or an iPad. Yet, what do you see?
They own them. They actually
They own them, yeah.
Those elementary schools
I
are
don't
better.
understand. They're not even elementary school.
No, they are elementary.
Yeah, you see it in line at the grocery store, right? The kid starts getting fussy, the parent whips out the phone, brings on a video, hands it to the kid.
I've had it like fancy restaurants where there's like
Mhm.
I've
Yep.
had kids walk into me because they've been looking at their iPod and like punch them across.
Yeah, I mean, we made holders for them that are specifically for kids, and also as shock resistant, so when they drop it, it doesn't like break into a million pieces. And kids are starting to get addicted. They want it instantly, and yes, they do own it, and they're owning it at younger ages because, as parents are having to leave their children, right, whether it's on the bus or to an aftercare program, they want to be able to know that that child has access to them, or they have access to the child whenever they want, or even the find my phone feature, right? You're connected to it, so we okay, I know they got home after school, or they got to their after school activity, and we're tracking them that way. But yeah, so this is a huge problem in the U.S. Well, not just the U.S. and other countries as well, but we have become a culture where we want the child to be quiet, but still with us. But the way we do that, because kids are going to get frustrated, they don't want to be out all day, they don't want to do all these things, is you pacify them. Instead of with a thing in the mouth, it's in their hand.
I wonder if there's like a direct correlation between how early you give a child their like technology and as they get older, depression, and then maybe even drug use after that. I honestly have always thought like there has to be something connected because there is an addictive behavior. Like if you remove technology, I'm just saying, like maybe they would drink Coca-Cola constantly. Like if you have that addictive personality, if you keep feeding it, it's just going to keep going and going.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same thing with like cigarettes and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you start smoking early on, you're probably going to.
Oh yeah, anytime you introduce something, the earlier you introduce something, anything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, the earlier you introduce it, the more it becomes a lifelong habit. And so like in advertising, we always teach that the toothpaste or the toothbrush brand that you are first given by your dentist will usually be the one that you will become a brand user of for most of your life. And that's why these drug companies are so willing to give out all these free samples and brand it with the dentist's name or the pediatrician's name or whatever, because they know if that's the first thing you get, that's probably what you're going to use. And we've known that in advertising for a long time, and now it's kind of spilling out into other areas as well. But with technology, I think the biggest concern that we're seeing, in addition to the addictive behavior, is that if you are then on social media as part of this, yes, we now know that increases the rate of depression, especially if you already have that tendency to non-social media users. So you can track it yourself. If you get on social media and you start seeing all of these pictures of people living this great lifestyle, and you're like, that's not me. I don't have that. I gotta go study, and I can't go, to where all these influencers are going to, or I don't look that way, and I want to look that way. That just feeds into basically 24-hour-a-day depression because people are on their phones, on social media constantly. We know that for teenagers, it's the first thing they look at in the morning. It's the last thing they do when they go to bed. And many of them, because they keep their phones right by them, will be on social media and not even realize it overnight.
I have texted people in my sleep before, and it's the weirdest thing.
Yep.
So now I turn my phone off.
Yeah. You really should, because you will do it just without even, you wake up just when you'll hear the ping.
Enough.
And you wake up just enough from REM.
But you don't remember it.
And you don't remember it. Yeah.
And then you wake up and people are like, what are you even talking about? And
Right.
I don't know what I was talking about.
People will have entire conversations. They'll post pictures from their photo library. Sometimes not the ones they would ever want to post on social media. Because we don't realize how much we can do. And until you have kids, you don't understand how much you can do while you're sleep deprived, to be honest with you. So texting would be, that's nothing compared to what you do when you have little kids. But yeah, there have been many stories of that and a lot of research done that we do all of this in our sleep because it has become such a habit.
I know it's a little off topic, but it just reminds me of weed culture. It's been super popularized by social media. There's a hashtag 420 and all that.
Yep.
And I think it's really interesting because it started out as like a counterculture to all that as a way to lose
Right.
yourself
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I've seen it recently become super commercialized,
Oh yeah.
especially in the makeup industry, which is the weirdest thing. For 420, everyone would release weed palettes or high. There was a palette called High Times,
Mm-hmm.
and then this one brand Sephora. Every Monday leading up to 420, they release a new cushion-fused product of your makeup.
Yeah.
But have with drug use.
Because they can make money off of it,
I know.
right? Anything that's our capitalist culture. We are consumer driven. So if we can get something that ties into our subculture, our interests, we're going to be willing to buy that, even if it is completely and totally ridiculous. But so that's why I was at Ulta the other day with my daughter, and they had an entire section of Marvel Comics now has makeup. And literally the only difference is they put the wrap around it and probably charge you 10 times more.
Wow.
Disney does it, it's everybody has this makeup as if, and I look at it, my daughter's she does not buy that. She's into James Charles. I literally am taking her to Philadelphia. I kid you not. This is what parents do.
She's trying to
These are her grades. So I'm taking her to see James Charles for 2 hours on a stage. And again, this is that the culture that just grows up. I didn't even know who he was. I had to be educated. That's why I was at Ulta, to be educated. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing for 2 hours while this guy who does makeup is on stage. I learned he sings.
What does he do?
Oh no, he sings too. I'm like,
Wow.
this just made it worse when she told me that. I'm like, that's, and yet people are paying.
Okay.
I did not pay this, okay? Full disclaimer, I bought cheap seats. He had a VIP package, $500 a ticket.
But for what?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out.
You probably
He
spent the whole
tried
day.
to explain it as because so many people asked him. He was like, oh, well, with it you get a free goodie bag of $100 worth of makeup. But my thing is, you paid $500, and then he also has a pre-show Q&A. But I'm who needs to know about your life like that?
Well, he already has it all over Instagram,
His
doesn't he? Yeah.
life is all over the
What are you
internet.
gonna watch him do?
And then afterwards, there's another meet and greet. We already met you at the Q&A.
Right. Why do I want to spend this much time with you? But yeah, no. But this. I mean, he was the one who was in England went to like, because like I said,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
using his palette, and he shut down the town.
Yep.
But again, this is that he is his own subculture now. You know, that he is created as an influencer, and because he was a male into makeup, which, you know, I'm like, that's not exactly unique. We've actually had that for a long time, but he's just hit that nerve with it. But no, but I was gonna say, I looked at the colors that she was trying to educate me on for his palette, and I'm like, that looks just like that stuff over there, which looks like just that stuff over there, which looks like that stuff over
And
there.
you can get that at like CVS.
At CVS, from like that Wet n Wild, which is like really cheap, but it's not James Charles branded. Which we will continue talking about. Have I completely run out of time now?
Yeah.
Ah, dang it. Okay.